a high-risk strategy, playing a Scottish hero, doing the Scottish accent, filming in Scotland with Scottish actors.
Yikes.
Like, that's a... kudos to you.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I figured I would get crucified by some people for it, so I just went full tilt and tried to do it. I had a wonderful dialect coach. We filmed in Scotland entirely.
Oh, great.
And most of the cast was Scottish, so I had a lot of people to, you know, quietly whisper into my ear if they felt I was doing something.
Did you stay doing the Scottish throughout?
You know, I did. I don't consider myself, you know,
method act.
not in that regard, but just by virtue of the fact that the motor of your mouth is doing it all day, that you find yourself at the pub later on, especially after a couple of drinks, easily floating into that.
Also, you're hanging around with Scottish people, I guess, so it's it doesn't feel... It's not pretentious and wanky because you're not, you know...
It is, well, no, it's most certainly pretentious and wanky, but I had, you know, it's either be pretentious and wanky to them or to the 40 million people that will see the film.
You ever find yourself falling back into it randomly?
It's funny, I do, so with, it was a great opportunity, so every morning I would wake up, I'd work out, I'd get into the makeup chair, and they'd put this mullet on my head.
Yes, you did.
This mullet on my head. And we would just read Shakespeare for an hour. We just read Shakespeare over, and we went through nearly everything. So I find myself, if I'm casually reading Shakespeare, just that kind of record player will, you know, go back and play, the Scottish.
Didn't you pretend to be your own agent?
I did. I've never been very good with being agented or with agents, and I fire them left, right and centre. I fired one poor man who was a brilliant agent just because I saw his anus.
Not just 10% of it.
It was ridiculous. We were at some film festival and his shower broke down. He wanted to borrow my bath in my suite, and I said, all right, and I forgot he was in there. And I walked in and he was on all fours washing. Who washes like that? I've never heard of such a thing. And anyway, the view was awful. It was,
I don't understand. He was on all fours.
Yes, and his bottom towards me, this awful, soapy flag of Japan. I have to say that you're a great agent. I'm really, very fond of you, but I've seen your anus and you've got to go. I did then invent an agent for 3 or 4 years called James Howeley, which was saved a lot of money. You know, people would send me a script, and James Howeley would say, thank you so much for submitting the script. I'll get it to Hugh as soon as possible and get back to you. But I got caught out in the end because I used to, you know, do these emails a bit drunk, and to say, Hugh's read the script and he really enjoys it. He'd like to meet up. Best wishes, Hugh. And then they rang one time, and I thought, I haven't got a voice for James Howeley. And for some reason, I panicked, and I went with genteel Edinburgh old lady. It was pretty much Janet from Dr. Finlay's case. Oh, well, hello now. Shall we have a cup of tea then? Oh, ludicrous and unconvincing.
This comes from that kind of incredible Shonda Rhimes world, Shondaland, which you were in Shondaland already.
Yes. I've been working for Shonda for the last 3 years before Bridgerton in a show called For the People. I've been doing a New York lawyer. Been doing my best kind of fast-talking, high-trouser type of acting. And Shonda didn't actually know that I was British when they were casting Bridgerton. She was just like, I want what he was doing in that show, but British. And then I turned up and we had our meeting. She was like, wait, you're not American? I was like, no, this is actually what I do. You'll be the first person to allow me to act in my own accent for about 6 years. Which was lovely. Wow. And I appreciate that very much. It was great. Not quite my own accent. I'm a little bit more common.
So wait, actually, you are a little bit down, yeah. But I was a bit disappointed. I was like, oh.
I mean, I can't hold it back. It's a lot of effort.
Oh, very good. And, of course, the two of you who share a castmate, Nicola.
Yes.
We do. Yes.
Yes, lovely Nicola, yeah. And, of course, that's why I started watching Bridgerton. And you're one of the reasons I stopped watching it.
I do my best.
Yeah, actually, because I live alone and there's a pandemic going on, and just watching very beautiful people have a lovely time dancing and having sex. I'm like, you know, I don't want to watch that. Crying, eating beans in my pants. Another episode, I hate myself.
I'll just eat a radish. Oh, but no!
Let's go back to the garden. Balco, no.
You put Bridgerton to the radishes.
They would grow.
On set, Hugh Grant, who was it who knew about the connection between you and Guy Ritchie and your dads?
You're quite cat-like.
Yes, well, it's catching.
We've known this forever, that his dad and my dad fought together in Malaya in the 1950s. And when we did a film before, Man from U.N.C.L.E., and we had this picture of them standing there looking quite butch, with another guy, the third officer in the same regiment, who turned out to be the grandfather of someone else working on The Man from U.N.C.L.E. And we thought it was all so charming, we then recreated the picture. We got the costume department to drop everything they were doing for the film and recreate this picture to please our parents with.
So this is the original. That's the original. That's your dad in the middle, right?
Yeah.
And that's Guy Ritchie's
That's John
dad.
Ritchie, yeah.
And then this is the grandfather...
Of one of the production assistants. I've forgotten his name, of course, just Crew.
Yeah, and then... the crew's grandfather.
Yes.
And then who's he? Nobody.
He's Stooge.
He's just, yeah. And then here's the recreation. You really did go to a lot of trouble. There's you as your dad, Guy, the person. And we don't know who that... Still don't know who that is. No.
Another Stooge.
No, another Stooge. And does your dad still around? So does he remember this picture?
I thought he would be delighted with it. He couldn't have taken less interest, I must say. But you never know with Dad. You never know what he's going to like.
But he likes your work. He sees your work.
Yes, he does. And he loved Paddington 2. I took him to the premiere at Leicester Square. And he sat chuckling away. And then halfway through, he turned to me and said, very good. Is that a real bear? I mean, OK, he's 91, but for God's sake, Dad, he's talking, you know. No, it's not a real bear. No. And then when I did the Jeremy Thorpe thing for the BBC...
Oh, yes, yeah.
I always go around to see him on Sunday nights, and I went round one Sunday night, and he said, now, wait a minute. Isn't your Buggers film on tonight? I said, no, we don't call it that. It's called A Very English Scandal. He said, well, I want to watch it. And he said, I've got a television on the top floor. If you tell me how to turn it on, we'll watch it together. So we went up and dusted off this TV and put it on, and I thought, it's not going to be Dad's cup of tea, you know, ex-soldier. And he did very well until the scene when I went in with the towel and the jar of Vaseline. And then he said, I think I might go to bed now.
I'm very tired.
Just like that, we brought the heat, we set the fire alarms off.
As you're acting overheated the studio.
I know, it's just gone up in flames.
Yeah. Ooh. He is so hot. He is so hot. The fire alarm's gone off.
I'll take that. Can we please keep that in the show so I can have it in the showroom?
I mean, yeah, Reggae's used to this. He walks into shops. The fire alarm goes off.
This is why I don't do the voice. I knew I shouldn't have done it.
Yeah, that's why he doesn't open the door, because it'll probably be the fire brigade. Here's Chris Pine. You do the accent, you get the costumes right, the look right. You're in these grueling, you know, conditions in Scotland, filming for months, and then you premiere the film in Toronto, and that's not what got attention, is it?
Oh dear, what happened?
Yeah, what happened?
Well, so there's a scene in the film where I
Naked.
I bear the do the full Monty.
Yes.
And yeah, that seemed to
Well, yeah.
seemed to gain a lot of attention.
Is the full Monty the front or the back?
It's
What
both.
is the
Kind of the whole thing, man.
It's both. You know, if you don't like one, you can try the other. It's all in here.
It's all there.
all in
Different
here.
strokes for different folks, as it were.
So you do the Toronto International Film Festival, you know, which is posh, you know, it's big and posh.
Yeah.
And these are the tweets.
Oh, boy.
These are the tweets from audience members. Chris Pine, full frontal, Outlaw King. That's pretty much my review.
Yeah.
Here's another one. This is a PSA that Outlaw King features in the about Chris Pine's booty. A mere appetizer of the frames featuring his soaking wet full frontal nudity. Thankfully, Netflix has a pause button. That's You forget these things.
There's an even better one that I think is Vanity
And
Fair.
you've read
It's
them?
like, oh yeah, they're effing brutal.
There's one more in here. Day one, I've jotted it down. And so I've been seriously impressed by the performances of newcomers like Chris Pine's pubes and Chris Pine's penis.
Well, there are a lot of intelligent people in the world. No, you know, I guess what struck me most about it is, my wonderful co-star Florence Pugh was.
She's terrific.
I mean, she's a powerhouse. She's already done incredible work, and I'm sure will do more. So she bears everything in the film, and no one talks about it. And I thought to myself, how interesting that. So does no one talk about the fact that she bears everything because it's expected of a woman to do that in film? Or that there's a sense of decorum that one wouldn't say that to a woman about having done that? And yet these pithy comments can be made about me, which I don't care about, but I think there's a more interesting conversation to be had about, well, why is the case that men don't do it, or that it's not expected of a man to do it, or...
It's taken a long time for men to get there.
But I guess the question is that why? It's just kind of it's an interesting double standard. That is it that women are expected to do it and that that's normal,
Yes.
And why is it not then for men?
But the reaction is only because it's taken so long for men to get there. It becomes the novelty, and everybody's like knocked out of the box.
Well, but of course,
there
my question is why? I wonder why.
You wonder why why women were expected to be doing it from the get-go.
No, but why?
Not?
Yeah, well, why not for men?
Well, that's a big societal issue that we're like having to deal with right now. In every way, we're dealing with.
Yeah, well, that's
and the ramifications thereof.
True. Indeed. I'm just trying to stoke the fire of the conversation.
I think it's good. Stoke it.
Well, anyway, it's all for you.
How many metaphors here?